Mateo would like to go all Catholic on us.
Yeah. So what a coincidence, guys. I'm here and you just had to have another Catholic Church crime. I just read the name Catholic Church and my first thought was, let's see what this child abusing mafia did this time. It's child abuse again, isn't it? And what a surprise! Thanks to onlysky.media for this information, by the way, we learned that, yes, it is. It starts literally, let me read the quote. A 4-year investigation into Kansas Catholic churches has found 188 predators suspected of committing aggravated crime, sodomy, rape, indecent liberties with child, and aggravated sexual battery. And I wish that was the end, but the report also says there were 400 victims of sexual abuse in the Kansas Archdiocese since 1950. Guys, I wish I didn't have to see this every single time. So, Phoebe, what do you think? Because I have way too many things to say about this, guys.
I've got a feeling washing over me. I hear familiar music. I see The Exorcist playing. I hear tubular bells. Oh wait, it's deja vu. I feel I've been here before. This is just one thing the Catholic Church just cannot exorcise from itself. I mean, they don't have an image problem. They have a predator problem. And we keep seeing this over and over and over and over again. But it's the gift that keeps on giving, but in all the wrong ways. And I just find it incredible, absolutely outright incredible, that nobody has turned around and gone, what on earth are we doing here, still endorsing an organization that country after country after country, in state after state, and with pope after pope, that doesn't do anything to change the culture here? I mean, Jason, what would you do?
Well, if it were me, I'd ban them all. But unfortunately, there's a lot of Catholics out there, and I use that in the most vehement way possible. But I do have some questions that probably will never get answered, and so I'm just going to rattle them off. But why does this seem to plague Catholic leaders at a higher percentage than other kind of leadership group? Is this really because they can't marry? And I think that's very doubtful due to who they're preying upon. Is this because that these leaders are gay and they don't have an outlet for it, that their religion tells them it's disgusting, and they read Leviticus and all that? Do they hope that the really young can keep it quiet? And the last thing I know is just, when is anybody going to study why this keeps happening? Because we can't fix a problem. The Catholic Church can't fix the problem. Governments and people all around cannot fix a problem until they can identify what the problem actually is.
I mean, just on that point, I mean, in Britain, we had an entire organization that was an entire government inquiry that was set up about institutional child abuse that occurred. And a former host on the ACA, Lloyd Evans, was one of the leads for Jehovah's Witnesses. And there was also representatives from the Church of England and the United Reformed Church. And in England, it was religious organization after religious organization. So it wasn't just the Catholics that were here. But this report took years and years to come to fruition. Nothing's changed. All we do is we just now know about it. And when it comes to organizations like Jehovah's Witnesses, they've changed their rules to make it less transparent and more difficult to get around these things. But, I feel that the lovely Teo would like to go all Catholic on me again, though.
So it had to be me, right? Now, you,
Of
you know,
course.
whenever I read this, I always have the same question. Why the heck do people keep supporting such awful institution? Jason said it. I think we have always repeated the same thing. How is it possible that people keep supporting monetarily an institution that is known for raping children? I know that whenever I read something about the Catholic Church, I know I'm going to read about children being raped, and it's always hundreds of children. It's not like one or two, it's literally hundreds of them. And out there are people who would dare to say something as awful as, oh, you know what, those are just some few rotten apples, not all priests are rapists, as if that didn't make every single priest who is not a rapist but supports the rapist co-workers their accomplices. I remember some time ago when I read about a guy who said that sorry, I got distracted. It was some news about a child who murdered a priest with a crucifix because that guy raped his sister, the sister of the child. So he went and killed him. And of course, everybody had an opinion about it. But the opinion that I liked the most was one guy saying, the punishment for this child should be the same that they give to priests. Just put him in another church and make him repeat it again. So maybe it's a solution. I don't know, but guys, it's awful that we know that the Catholic Church always tries to cover crimes, just moves these guys to another place and let them redo that again. And that makes me sick. That always makes me sick.
So, August, before Teo gets sick, let us hear what you have to say on this issue, shall we?
Well, for starters, I feel like every time I'm on here, there's another freaking story about not even just a few isolated incidents. Even that would be bad enough, but we're talking hundreds, and those are the ones that are being reported. Though, how many are the victims silenced, or they just, I mean, the stigma around that kind of thing happening to you as well can be such a powerful thing to prevent you from coming forward and saying, hey, this awful thing happened to me, because some people can feel like it's embarrassing or whatever else, although they shouldn't. It's just the reality of it. And I feel like this happens all the time, and I'm just like, wow, another story. Wow, so shocked. I just feel like, whether or not it's the actual institution itself that is promoting this. I mean, as Phoebe said, like, there's other religions that are also having this problem, and really just institutions in general, I feel like maybe would be a safe thing to say. So we got to get down to the root of the problem. And I feel like parents need to be more aware of where their kids are, what's happening. And I know that can't always be done, especially when there's schools and stuff, and everyone just automatically goes to, well, they are trustworthy, the priest, that is. And it's like, maybe not. So, they need to be more aware of that, I think. And maybe there needs to be some sort of safeguard, like, these adults cannot, accused of anything or not, cannot be in a room with that child alone. Any child, any person. Like, there should be a buddy system with people now. And unfortunately, we have to do this. I feel like maybe that would be a small step in the right direction to say, hey, you have to have multiple people in the room, which I feel like should just be across the board. I mean, I don't want a teacher in a room alone with a young child either. It's across the board, just to say, and it's really for other people's protection too. Like, the people that are going, if you're a teacher, it would safeguard you from, if, the child, maybe gets some sort of imagination or something to that effect. It would protect you as well. And I feel like we should do that. We should actually investigate it. And, like some of the other people were saying, they just get shuffled over to the next church, where it's so many different levels of a violation of wrong. It's like, first they did that, and that's awful. Then we're not figuring this out for years, to where the statute of limitations have passed, or the priests themselves have died, because a lot of them are, older. And and then we're just moving them to another one where not only they can recommit crimes against these children, the most innocent among us, as they say, there's no criminal repercussions, there's no career repercussions. They just get shuffled to the next one. They keep their job, they don't get any charges brought against them, and they are able to recommit these crimes. That is at least 3 different mess ups in this chain of events here. So I feel like something has to be done. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm kind of just spitballing here, throwing something out.
I just want to jump in, and I wanted to just ask the panelists this open question. Do the panelists here, do you think that there is a level of institutional deference towards religious organizations that have been around for a very long time, like the Catholic Church? And by that, I mean, do you think that there is almost like, oh, you're over there, you can get away with that, and we just won't interfere because, you know, you've been around longer than we have? So do you think there's a level of deference from institutions like law enforcement and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, dude, in this case, they didn't, a lot of the victims didn't give the information because they had signed non-disclosure agreements. How messed up is that there are non-disclosure agreements? Oh yeah, the priest abused you, please don't say anything and sign this. How awful can this institution be? It's disgusting, totally disgusting.
So one thing I want to, because I'm glad you brought that up, Teo, and I actually saw that in August notes as well about these NDAs. And I just want to say, as somebody who works in places where NDAs are absolutely necessary in the tech field, that it isn't necessarily an admission of guilt. Even in a religious institution, there may be some things that they need to keep kind of close to the chest. Now, that's not to say that this is excusable. And when this does happen, I do think that it should be reported immediately. And unfortunately, like, whistleblower laws do vary from state to state. But I will say that, you know, if you look up the laws for whistleblowing in your state and there are protections, then you have a duty, not to yourself, and this is borderline on a call to action, but I think this is something that we can go ahead and safely say, because it is something that is designed to protect the victims. If you have whistleblowing laws that protect you, you absolutely have to report it. You have to let people know. You have to make sure that these people stop getting away with this. They need to stop. They need to learn that if you abuse the most vulnerable of us, that you cannot get away with it anymore.
Another thing that I wanted to raise was, do you think that there's a level of fear of offending if someone from authority from the outside comes in and goes, oh, excuse me, we need to have a chat with you because we think that you're, some, kiddie fiddler. And it feels very much like that there's all these institutions, as we say in Britain, the press doesn't shit on itself. So by what I mean is that none of the editors will ever go after any of the other editors because they've all got dirt on each other. And it feels like the police, religious organizations, lawmakers, and so on and so on and so on, don't like going after each other because they've all got, large steaming turds of shit that they can just throw at each other. And we have to change this whole culture. But just to wrap it up from each of you, how would you change this, starting with August?
Well, I think I kind of touched on it a little bit of, we need to have some sort of rule. And if the Catholic Church actually gave a shit about figuring this out, and if they, I feel like it would be a logical step to say, hey, there needs to be 2 adults or multiple children in the same room when there's like some sort of conference or anything like that to prevent something like this from happening. And I feel like as the church, if I was in the church, I would support that, because that would save my, that would save my behind, like if you bring more people with you, then you have witnesses to say, no, that didn't happen. And that's the thing, is like it becomes their word versus the kid's word. And I just think that's awful. We need to prosecute the ones that are doing this and get them to stop, not only criminally charge them, but make sure they don't have a freaking job in the church anymore. Seems pretty logical. And then just those safeguards and parents being more aware of it, I think probably would be a good start in a little bit of the right direction.
Jason.
If I had a magic wand that could grant any of the wishes that I'd want in this situation, I would wave it around and be like, Catholic Church, gone. That's it.
Only
And
that
take
one?
us away, Teo. Take us
I
away,
would say
Teo.
or religions. The last time that I saw the Catholic Church, evangelical people, and Jehovah's Witnesses joined together in order to fight for a common cause was to fight against a law that would force people to denounce rapists and in general. So they wanted the right not to send people to tell the system that there are criminals doing stuff and telling them, hey, no, I did this with this child, I did this with this woman, and just let them get away with it. So I don't know, but August offers a good way of protecting little children, but we still have teenagers and other people who would fall for this. So I guess getting rid of all religions, as Jason said, not only the Catholic Church, would be a good way, but